Hello everyone, welcome back to Flying Solo with Kat, and today is of course a very special video because we just got the Legacy of Vader issue 1. And let me tell you, I was so excited for this comic when it first got announced. Anything with Kylo Ren, y'all know me on this channel, I am obsessed with, and it was high time that we got a comic focused on Kylo. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's, bring him back into the spotlight, especially with what we're getting, or what we got after the series that focused on the Battle of Jakku and showed a lot of Ben Solo. And also, at the end of Vader number 50, we got to see Ben Solo training with Luke while Luke told him a story. And I did cover that comic on this channel. If you're interested, definitely check that one out. This comic, again, I was super hyped for. I had known that Hux was going to be a part of it as well, which made me even more hyped. As y'all know me on this channel as well, my two favorite characters in one comic, oh my god, immediate buy. So I ended up actually getting 4 of the same comic because the covers were absolutely amazing. If you're interested on what those look like, follow me on Twitter at AvengerCat or go to Flying Solo on Twitter as well, which of course, as you all know, is where I will post the podcast and update you guys on, kind of schedule changes. And I try to do that as much as I can. But let's talk about Legacy of Vader issue 1. I do want to read out before I kind of do the quick summary of what this comic entails, because I do think it's important before we go on this journey to know where this is kind of taking us. Han Solo and Leia Organa's son, Ben Solo, was once a promising young student to his uncle Luke Skywalker, but Ben's resentment of his family's legacy made him susceptible to the pull of the dark side, transforming him into Kylo Ren, First Order tyrant and master of the Knights of Ren. Kylo's desire to finish what his grandfather started has led him down a sinister path, murdering his father, slaying his former master to supplement him as supreme leader, and attempting to decimate the remaining resistant forces on Krayt. Now, a volatile Kylo vows to continue to destroy the past at all costs, but in the process, he might discover that some parts of the past are not so easily killed. Very, very exciting. And of course, the writer is Charles Soule, who is amazing. He is probably one of the most famous writers in Star Wars. If you are not familiar with that name, just look him up and just read about him and see what he's done. He has done so much for the community and for Star Wars. I do also want to shout out, of course, the artist Luke Ross. Amazing work with this comic. Kylo looks absolutely stunning. Really getting those expressions that of Adam's face down really, really well, and not just kind of traced over, and really pushed the boundaries of what a comic could look like and could be. Hux as well was beautifully drawn, and thank you so much, because there are a lot of comics that do not know how to draw Donald Gleason's face, myself included, because his face is just too perfect for this world, and I cannot replicate it. But they did an amazing job in this comic, and really, was able to shine through the emotions, which is something that is kind of rare nowadays in comic art. So shout out to those amazing people and everyone else who worked on this comic and who is working on this series. So, of course, this is after Krayt, after The Last Jedi. So this is the year between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, which I think is such an important year because, y'all know I get pissed off that there is not a year gap between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. The fact that it is right after pisses me off. Why did we do that? Why was there no gap? It really kind of restricts a lot of storytelling for this time period. If you look at OT and you look at the prequels, there are significant time gaps between those movies. Not as much as OT as there is in prequels. The prequels have a very, very significant time gap. The fact that you have like almost I think it's what, a 15-year gap between the Phantom Menace and the Attack of the Clones. I mean, that's insane. And of course, we have the Clone Wars that fills in those like 15 years. And even then, it only covers 2 to 3 years, but we still get some, backstory there. So again, it leaves almost no room for storytelling with the sequels, unless we're talking about after The Rise of Skywalker, which is what we will be getting with the Rey movie. But having Kylo ascending to Supreme Leader, he is Supreme Leader, kind of calling upon his forces. One thing I found really interesting in this comic as well is how he uses Snoke's remains. He actually uses his split body to kind of rally the First Order troops, and it is a visual show of dominance and something that is really scary, actually. And I love bad guy Kylo Ren. Y'all know my thoughts on this as well. We've talked about Kylo Ren's story, Ben Solo, how that works, and my thoughts on it. And I'm not the biggest fan of Ben Demption, and that's just kind of how it is. Again, it doesn't piss me off. I have better things to worry about, to be honest. But I do like when we see Kylo Ren as a villain, when we see him at his worst, and we feel that power and how he's just barely holding himself together. You can have a villain that you can relate with, that is still a villain. And I hope with this comic, one thing I am a little afraid of is that it's just going to be him being bad. We need this comic to show why why he was starting to turn, and why Rey was able to get through to him. It concerns me. Again, we're going back to just how the sequel trilogy is and how fast those movies kind of worked, is the Ben Demption. And if they do it right, everything will work out okay. But I need to see Kylo have that opposite of Vader. And this is something that Adam Driver has talked about at length, in interviews. And this was even... he's talked more about it now, but this was also when the movie was just coming out, how Darth Vader was light side to dark side, right? And Adam really believed that Kylo was the opposite of that, and that he was dark side to light side. And I think he tried as much as he could in that performance to show that vulnerability. But I think in comic form, you could do so much with that, and you can see so much more of it. One of the pages too really just has Kylo feeling the weight of his family, and this is something that, again, I wish was focused more on in Tross. And you're gonna hear that a lot in this video, and I'm gonna try not to harp on it too much because there's nothing we could change about that. I'm happy that we're getting it now, but seeing, Luke's last words to Kylo and how that affects him killing his father, him seeing his mother, and Rey as well, and Rey leaving him on Crate, I think affected him very emotionally, and really weighs down on, he couldn't even turn her, right? And he thought he could. Now, of course, Rey is a perfect little sunshine, and she would never do that, Kylo. But him thinking that she would have, is also another thing that really weighs him down, because he could have been the teacher that he wanted his Uncle Luke to be. And I think all of that culminating is something that adds to his character and where he's at, after Crate. And I think it's really interesting to show that type of character as he has his tantrum. When he finishes it off, of course, he immediately asked for Hux to be sent to him, which I think is comical and really funny, and very much ties into where we see them in the movies. And we're gonna kind of get into Kylux territory a little bit. I'm gonna try not to get too shippy with these two, but oh my goodness, this comic gave me so much to work with, which I am obsessed with. their entire dialogue is so interesting to me because, of course, their relationship after Snoke is killed is a very rocky one. Hux was going to kill Kylo, 1000%. I think he was smart enough not to, though. Because a blaster shot would not have killed him. As well as, of course, Kylo choking him and, long live the Supreme Leader. Throwing Hux against the console. Like, there's a lot of abuse of power that Kylo shows over Hux. And again, where we see him in Tross kind of represents that, how we now bring in Pride, who definitely abused Armitage as a child. I don't know if that was the original plan for the writers in a writing sense, but let's just say it is. That was important for Kylo to do that, to keep him in line. So with this scene, or with these couple of pages, you have Hux asking, what is your command? And Kylo just says, at ease. Hux, you are a trusted advisor. Sir, what? You just threw him against a console. Why are we going through this? And Hux kind of honestly trusts him. He kind of says, oh, okay. How can I assist you? And Kylo asked, what are our assets? What do we need? Are we good on ships? What about our troops? And, Hux is very realistic. He says, yes, Snoke had plans, but you are now Supreme Leader. This is your organization. And I think that was honestly super integral for Hux to say. I mean, just as a character, right? Because he could have been like, no, this is what Snoke told you to do for his own personal gain. But he gives Kylo that choice. Which, again, I'm going to kind of go into ship territory. But no one's ever given Kylo this choice, right? Of, you are now in power. You have the opportunity to change the tides of war. And the fact that Hux says this is actually insane. Especially where he's at with Kylo right now. And it seems like they're honestly wanting to work together. And this line really stood out to me. And, you now control the galaxy's largest military with the First Order. You could truly rule. Very much using those terms. You could fulfill the dream of so many of our forebears, rebuild the Empire. And then, of course, Kylo asks, our forebears. The fact that Hux even uses our in that sentence really kind of connects them. Again, it's kind of an olive branch that Hux is lending out to him and saying, this is what we need to fulfill, with your legacy, with my legacy, how we have been built up in the Order. Hux sees them as equals, and Kylo does not. And I think that's kind of the bottom line of their characters and how they're influenced by each other. Is it sucks too, because Hux isn't wrong, right? Kylo thinks himself better, which is why he's a bad person. At the same time, they're really not, and Hux is actually in the right here. They very much are the same person. And Kylo even says, my forebears shaped the galaxy as we know it, General. Your bloodline produces lieutenants in Lickle-Spitz. Do not speak of my people in the same breath as yours. Kylo sees himself better. That's just kind of how it is. And, Hux's reaction, he kind of brushes it off. And of course that kind of pisses off Kylo. Hux goes into his whole spiel talking about what they have, losing that. He brings up Starkiller. I'm not shocked. That's still kind of a sore spot for him and wanting to do better for himself. And you could see that Hux really does have plans and really could make something out. And then finally Kylo interrupts him and, I have given you my orders to do an order to do those things. And then, Hux of course says, no, you've not. Just his ideas. And then Kylo says, this is what I want you to do. Build me a throne. I mean, Kylo, What the heck? That is not very nice, sir. And just like even Hux's reaction here, and he's like, a throne? Why, of course, Supreme Leader. Simple enough. And, you know, of course, like, just, it's such a kind of smackdown for Hux in saying, through Kylo's eyes, he does not matter. Which, again, hurts my little shipper heart. But I do think that this, people are like, why did Hux turn spy? It doesn't make any sense. Why would he just, no, it makes so much sense. You just read of like what he was going through, how he was abused in The Last Jedi. Like, why would not he turn spy? He wanted to work with Kylo. He wanted to see themselves as equals. He wanted to rule together with him. And Kylo was like, no, you literally build me a throne. I am better than you, and you suck. And even though that you have great ideas, I'm not gonna listen to any of them. And dude, that would be so frustrating. What would you do in that position? So if, you know, Hux could not win, and this is where Hux is very selfish as well, then he's gonna take down everything with him. And I think it's very in character. People say it's not, and I will die on this hill to this day to where it is probably the most in character thing that he did was turn to spy. I know that's a hot topic in our fandom right now. But I want people to see how it is not just a choice, a last minute choice of, let's just make him a spy. Why not? I do think that JJ was thinking and being like, I want there to be someone that kind of stages a coup in the First Order. How could we do that? And how could we twist that? And kind of make it shocking to the audience. And him choosing Hux, that's not a bad idea. I think it's actually one of his better ideas in Tross. And I think it worked out really, really well. And when we see what Hux was going through, how he was undermined, dealing with this man-child who couldn't see the true potential of the First Order, didn't care about the First Order at all. Their military, their troopers, he didn't care. He wanted it to be his grandfather, the absolute power. So Hux seeing that and being like, dude, like, this is not gonna work anyway. Let me help you bring this down, because if I can't be on top, then no one can. And that's Hux in a nutshell. Just because he as well wants power. And that's why they're so similar characters and why they're so alike. And Kylo just cannot see that. And I think Hux finally accepted that Kylo was never going to see that. So, yeah, I am, I love them so much. And canon-wise, I love how they're both bitches to each other. And they are terrible, terrible people to each other, and I like just those two scenes between Hux and Kylo because, again, it instills even more of why he would turn spy and what that process kind of started out like. I mean, it immediately started after, not even after Crate, while they were at Crate in the AT-AT, when Kylo says, I want every blaster fired on that man. Whatever. Something like that. Hux looks at him, and I think that was such a... Yeah, I'm going off on a tangent here. Just bear with me. I think that was such a creative choice by Rian Johnson, as well as Donald Gleason's acting, of that shocked expression on his face of just, oh, shoot, I'm screwed. Of this man is unstable. He will get me killed. He's going to get himself killed. And he is not better than Snoke. He's worse. Of course, in a more scary way. So just that 2 seconds, and I've tweeted about this like almost every year now. Just those 2 seconds of frame to where Hux looks at him just with this concerned, almost understanding expression of that anger on a family member is something that has always stuck with me with that character, and something that that moment, not when he was thrown by Snoke, not when he was thrown against or, not when he was thrown against the console or when he tried shooting Kylo Ren. No, it was in that moment on the AT AT that, or what is it, ATMT for the sequel trilogy, ATMT, that was where he knew that he was going to turn spy. So anyway, I love that character so much. I'm so sorry, y'all. Let's get back to the comic, because it is not all about Hux. Of course, Kylo comes back, converses with his grandfather, his skull, and kind of goes through these emotions of not understanding why his grandfather is not helping him. And I do need an explanation to this as well. I think one of the things that was really lacking in the sequel trilogy, now this would have pissed a lot of people off, but having Vader show up and kind of, or even Anakin show up and tell Kylo, yo, dude, don't do this. Like, the path to the dark side is not it, man. And of course, at that time, we think about all the Disney Plus shows now and how we've seen Anakin now in Ahsoka, and we've seen in Obi-Wan, and I think they're way more open to doing that now, and they were not open to doing that in 2019, or even 2015, 2017. So I want to see it in comic form, to where Anakin tries to talk to Kylo and be like, yo, dude, this is not it. And Kylo kind of start to understand. So I don't know if that's going to happen in this comic. I am hoping, because it is Legacy of Vader. So I'm hoping Anakin shows up at some point to smack some sense into his grandson. But at the end of this, he literally I don't know if he destroys the skull. It's kind of implied that he does something with it. But he's angry. He's very angry. He goes to Mustafar, Vader's tower. He kills off some of the protectors, whatnot, which is really cool. How this comic is framed as well is really well done and really creative, and something that each page I turned, I was delightfully surprised and very entertained, as well as the dialogue was very well done. I think now one of the hardest lines in Star Wars is, my ascent has just begun. This is my reign. I am Kylo Ren. My blood, my own blood, is so hard. I read that not well, but like I said, if you type it out and like all together, it's really hot. So, again, the writing, masterful in this. He kills all the people like an emo boy, goes in and meets this like weird floating head spider dude. I don't know if we have seen him before. I kind of gotta look on Wikipedia and see if we've seen this guy, if he's from like High Republic era, if he's like Emperor Palpatine created him. He seems to have served Darth Vader, and Kylo explains that I'm his grandson, whatnot. And Kylo basically says, you are the path. You are the past. Darth Vader is the past. The entire place is the past. The past strangles me. Its expectations and legacies and vendettas. I will destroy every last vestige of it. I will free myself. And then, of course, the little floating head thing. You foolish child. Vader's power was his past. And I do think that, again, we even kind of see, a hologram of Darth Vader, which I think is super cool. Granted, he doesn't really talk in this issue of the comic, but Kylo wants Vader to show him. So next, Tatooine, which is, of course, where we will be next. I hate Tatooine. Y'all know how I feel about Tatooine. I'm sick of Tatooine. One of the worst planets in all of Star Wars. You can quote me on that. All my homies hate Tatooine. I just can't. I'm so sick of seeing Tatooine. I get it. It was the birthplace of Anakin. It was technically not the birthplace of Luke, but it was where Luke grew up. I like Jakku better just because of the fall of the Empire and how like the Battle of Jakku, how that all went around. Jakku's still not great though. Like desert planets suck. Like I will say Tatooine is a little bit more well-rounded than Jakku was, but even then I'm sick. It's more why I hate Tatooine is because I'm sick of seeing it. Give me a different planet. Be more creative. Narcata 5. Like, I love every planet in Andor because it's so different. And yeah, I hate Tatooine so much. Just get out of there. I'm kind of sick of all the OT planets. I'm sorry. I love my OT, but like, no more Yavin. No more Hoth. Hoth is okay. I think I can never hate Hoth. I think Hoth is too iconic to hate. But we're on to Tatooine. And of course we saw a sneak peek. I think we're going to be hearing about Watto. And I think Darth Vader killed Watto, which had the entire fan base in a scramble. And people were, I guess, Watto fans. I didn't know that. Yeah, so I don't know why you would defend a slaver that ended up being what led to why, Anakin's mother was trapped and why he was not free with her. Anyway, again, Watto is not a good person, so I'm not crying that he was killed by Vader. Honestly, kind of checks out. And if you're sad about that, I'm sorry. It's kind of weird. I don't know if Watto's that good of a character to get emotional about, but whatever. He's someone's gulp shitto. So, at the end of the day, issue 1 was great. I loved it. I loved my Kylux moments. I loved Kylo going through all the emotions. As well as just, man, the freaking art is so good. Good job. Good job, everyone that worked on this. I'm very excited for issue 2. I think there are 5 issues of this series. I don't think it's a long series, but which is good because I spent many monies getting all 4 of the same comic. As well as issue 1 of The Rise of Skywalker is coming out, I think, soon. I think in a couple of weeks. I don't think it's this week. Hopefully not. I hope not. It's not going to give me a date, right? If I look at it, no, it's not. It's not going to give me a date. So I got to look that one up, but I'm very excited for that one to come out as well because we've been waiting for that one basically since 2019. So thank goodness it is here. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you are interested in reading the comic, go to your local comic shop. It just released this Wednesday, so it still should be on the shelves, and just go support your local comic shop because it's always great to see some amazing people in there. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next one.